Picture this. The fourth quarter clock is winding toward the finish. The crowd has been through the grind with you, and the energy in the stadium is that weird mix of relief and exhaustion that follows a hard-fought win. The Chiefs have just ground out a 22-9 victory over the Giants. Not pretty, not cinematic, but a win you feel in your bones. And Travis Kelce, in the quiet after the noise, walks toward the stands and lobbed his gloves into the waiting hands of fans. It's a tiny thing. It's also everything. Let's sit with that image for a second. Kelce, who's been one of the most visible, most marketable, and most scrutinized players in the league for a decade, has had a quieter stretch of games, 3 straight with 4 or fewer catches, a line of performance that might make headlines if you're counting stats. And yet, after the 1-2 start that suddenly looks a little less bleak, he makes a small human choice. Rather than walk back to the locker room and disappear, he offers a piece of himself to the people who made the evening possible. Why that matters is not complicated. The jersey and the helmet are the obvious fan artifacts, but the gloves, those are intimate. They're used, sweat-soaked, shaped by the feel of a player's hands, and for a fan to catch a pair is to hold a moment that's half game, half memory. It's a physical handshake between player and fan that says, "I see you stayed. Thank you." In a sport driven by spectacle and headlines, the gloves become a pocket-sized human currency. There's a leadership subtext to it, too. Teams have locker room dynamics and intangible currencies that don't always show up on stat sheets. A veteran like Kelce knows that confidence in a team isn't measured only in touchdown celebrations. It's measured in the steady gestures that keep morale from wobbling when the offense goes quiet. When a star walks up to the stands and hands a kid his gloves, that's a quiet bulletin to the whole franchise. We'll be okay. That single act communicates gratitude without theatrics, and gratitude is a stabilizer. It's also a message to teammates. We're still connected to our community. We still appreciate the people who show up no matter what's happening on the scoreboard. There's also a PR and brand calculus baked into moments like this. Kelce is pop culture famous now. Every action becomes a headline, a meme, a clip that circulates. He could have ducked the spotlight and let the win sink into the locker room. Instead, he made content the old-fashioned way, by being genuinely generous. That kind of authenticity can't be faked, and it pays dividends in loyalty. Sponsors like authenticity. Fans crave it. The league benefits from it. A spontaneous glove toss is effectively a ton of positive press, and it costs the team nothing but a couple of gauntlets. Beyond optics, there's the economics of fandom. Fans who catch those gloves will never forget it. The story will be told to friends, posted on social channels, and years down the line, it becomes part of family lore. Those moments compound. The team's emotional bank account grows. In an era where teams chase engagement metrics, Kelce just deposited some real lived value. Not a clickbait line, but a lived memory. We should also read the moment in the context of the season. Kelce's production has been modest lately, but stars aren't defined solely by tally marks. He's a cultural engine, a mentor, and the glue in the receiver room. When his statistics read low, his value doesn't evaporate, it morphs. He helps younger receivers find routes, absorbs defensive attention even when the passing windows tighten, and sets the emotional tenor for the team. That's leadership you can't measure in catches per game. The glove toss is easy to miss if you're only watching box scores, but if you're watching team psychology, it's a significant beat. There's something else here. Ritual. Sports are built on ritual. The pregame handshake, the postgame huddle, the souvenir catch. When players toss equipment to fans, it's a ritualized transfer of energy. It's an ancient human behavior reframed for modern stadiums. We give you a thing that mattered to us so that you can carry the story. The crowd that stayed late knows the game's arc better than anyone who bails early. Kelce's gesture rewards that patience, and in doing so validates the fans' investment. Let's not romanticize it beyond reason. The moment won't shift the standings, and it won't erase failures of execution. But small acts of generosity have a multiplier effect over time. One fan's joy becomes 10 social posts. 10 social posts become a cultural ripple. The Chiefs need their locker room chemistry to hold as the season gets bunched up, and cultural touchstones, like Kelce sharing gloves, are thread welds. They're the quiet things coaches hope happen because they make everything else a little easier to manage. There's also a practical tactical angle. Kelsey's presence and ongoing goodwill matter when teams game plan for Kansas City. Opponents study his targets and his routes, but they also watch how other players react to his leadership. A player who can keep a locker room calm while the offense sputters is an advantage. It steadies the quarterback, it keeps the young guys from spiraling, and it makes the team less susceptible to panic. Finally, there's the human ripple beyond the stadium. Whoever caught those gloves will tell that story to kids, friends, and social followers. They'll post the picture and tag Kelsey. The story will get likes and comments, and a little piece of joy will spread. In a sport that traffics in permanent moments, rings, records, wild plays, ephemeral kindness is underrated but resonant. Those leather gloves will warm hands and timelines for years. So what's the takeaway? The Chiefs found a gritty, necessary win. The stat line wasn't poetic, but Travis Kelce's glove toss turned a functional victory into a story with an emotional spine. For a team navigating a rocky start, those are the investments that compound into late-season resilience. For the fan who left with a pair of Kelce's gloves tucked into a bag, it was more than swag. It was a ticket to a story worth telling. Nobody needed the gloves to win a game, but sometimes the smallest choices tell you everything about a team's character. And in a long season, character is the currency that buys comebacks. Not every big moment has to come on the stat sheet. Sometimes the nicest plays happen after the final whistle. The Chiefs didn't light up the box score on Sunday night, but they got the result that matters, a hard-fought 22-9 win over the Giants. Patrick Mahomes managed the game like a veteran, the defense tightened when it counted, and the offense found its footing in the third quarter to build a safe lead. This wasn't Kansas City at its most explosive, but it was Kansas City doing the one thing championships demand, finding a way to win. On paper, Travis Kelce's night looked modest. 4 catches on 7 targets for 26 yards. Not the usual Kelce highlight reel, and not the kind of stat line that headlines highlight packages. But the moment fans will remember didn't show up in the box score. After the final whistle, Kelce walked into the stands and tossed his gloves to a few supporters who had stayed until the end. A small gesture, yes, but for those fans, it was everything. In an era where access to players feels rare, that glove toss shrank the distance between superstar and supporter and turned a normal Sunday into a lifelong memory for a handful of fans. That act matters for 3 reasons. First, it's pure human connection. Athletes are performers, but they're also part of a community. A simple gift like gloves recognizes the people who pay, travel, and cheer through the ups and downs. Second, it's leadership without words. Kelce didn't need a speech. He gave gratitude and showed the team's heart in a way that rallies a fan base even when the offense isn't humming. And third, it resets the narrative. After weeks of distraction and debate around the Chiefs, a humble, kind moment cuts through noise and reminds viewers what sports are supposed to feel like. On the field, this win gives Kansas City something practical: momentum and breathing room to clean up details. The defense held the Giants when it mattered, and the offense managed the clock well. For Mahomes and the staff, the next step is to translate this kind of grit into more consistent production. Fewer sluggish halves, more sustained drives. For Kelce, the gloves were a reminder that impact isn't only measured in yards and touchdowns. If you were at Arrowhead, that glove is now a treasure. If you watched at home, that clip is a reminder that the smallest moments can cut the deepest. Chiefs fans got their W and a memory. Life in the stands, and sometimes the game itself, is richer for it.